covering the basic Scratch mechanics. So first we're going to take our mouse down here and we are going to create our first sprite. Yeah, so this is Scratch, online programming language, and I'm going to cover some of the basics of it. So you can pick a bunch of sprites here, or what I like to do is I go here and I click paint option, and you can make your own sprite. Now we can zoom in, and as you can see, you have a bunch of different drawing tools. We can draw shapes, we can erase, we can select and move parts, then press backspace to delete them. Yeah, I'm going to use the circle tool, and let's just make like a green circle or something as like a character or a player to control. Then we can give it an outline up here where my mouse is right now. And now we have a basic character. Now I'm going to give it eyes, so I'm just going to draw an eye here, draw an eye here, and right up here you can change the color and stuff. Right here's the paint bucket, and I can fill in the eyes and stuff. And you can make the character however you want. If you wanted to, you could give him a smiley face or something. But I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. I can make this look, I can come back and make it look better later. So right here, I can rename the sprite player. This is the character controls, and I'm gonna make it a bit smaller down here by selecting size. Instead of 100, I'm gonna type in 50, and now it's this small. Now what most people do is they go here and they use let's say up arrow, and then they put change x-axis by 10 or something. So the x-axis does, or that's y-axis. The y-axis is up and down, and then the x-axis is left and right. So if I put this code here, it will make it so when I press up, the character will go up. What I like to do though is instead of doing arrow key controls, I do WASD. So you could do W, A, S, and D. But there's one problem with doing it this way, which is why I'll show a much better way you can make the controls. And we're going to change all these values to 3. And one problem you might notice is if I press the down arrow, which would be S, my character is still moving upwards. So to fix that, we want to change S to -3 since that's the down button. We want to change A to -3 since it's left. So the positive is for Y is up, and the positive for X is to the right. So up here would be, so down here would be negatives, up here positives, over to the left negatives, and up to the right positives. So you'll notice now oh wait, okay, I messed up part of the controls. Oh, I had them all on Y, okay, that's the problem. So we need to use X instead for some of these. So we need to put X as A and a D, because X is left and right, meanwhile Y is up and down. So now we'll be able to move all sorts of different ways with our character on the screen. Let me go into full screen real quick, and we can see now we have a moving character. Problem is the movement's really stiff. It's not very good movement, and I highly recommend not using this movement in your game, because it's overall really annoying for the player. It's because if I hold it down, it waits an extra second and then starts moving, then letting it go. Changing direction is just awful with it, because it's the whole delay here. So to make it a lot more smooth, we get when start clicked. So anytime you open a Scratch project, press play, that's what the start clicked is. So when you start the game, what we want to do is if. Now we want to do key pressed A, do that, then key pressed S, drag in the S is 1, key pressed W, drag in W's, and then finally we'll have D, and then drag in whichever one you have for D. And now if you look, all we have to do is press the start flag, and now our movement will be way more smooth. I can move right, then go directly up. I can go vertically and horizontally now. Or I could always go horizontally, but I can go diagonally, that's what I meant. So you can go in diagonal directions now, which you can't before if you just use the other coding. But yeah, that's how you make smooth player movement. Alright, so now we have like a basic thing. So if you want to make a platformer, this probably isn't what you want to do because you can hold down W and like pretty much float in the air. But if you want to like a game like an RPG, like from bird's eye view, then this would be the type of controls you want. So now the next basic thing we're going to go over, one thing that's really important used in a lot of Scratch games is variables. So let's say we want to create a variable called score, or like money or whatever. No, yeah, let's call it money. So now as you'll see, we'll have a variable that says money right there. Now, and if you notice, there's change and set. So set like just sets it to a number. So I could put set to 29 or something. And now, if you look on the screen up here, it will be 29. When I click that, you could put on start clicked, set money to 29, and then we could put when the sprite clicked, set money to, I don't know, like 50 or something. Now if we go in and press start, it's on 29. If we click our character, now it's 50, and if we press start again, it's 29. So meanwhile, change adds like to it or subtracts. If you put a negative number, it subtracts. Positive number, it adds. So if I click this, you'll notice on the top of our screen, it's going up. Up here, it's at 35. If I press it 2 more times, now it's at 37. So you want it so when we first start the game, we don't start out with any money. So we'll put set money to 0 when we first start. And now we just need to add a way to earn the money. So we're going to go to Paint, and I'm going to make a new sprite. Or you could choose one of the sprites in here if you want to, if you're not like trying to draw your own sprite, you could just select something here that like represents money or whatever. You don't have to use like the variable money. You can name it like score or literally anything you want. So now what you want to do is I'm just going to make like a coin looking thing. So we're going to draw a circle, and then okay, I'm just going to draw a circle. Like, okay, this is probably like the worst circle ever, but just a circle and draw that. There's also a text feature, and then I could just write money on it or something. And bam, now we have money. You probably want to make this smaller than the character. Okay, not that small, like 30. Okay, that's still too small. Let's try 45. Now this is a decent size. Alright, so during recording I accidentally muted myself, so for the rest of the tutorial, this is just commentary. But anyways, so as you can see, I touched the money, but nothing happened. So right now we're gonna code and fix that. So when we touch the money, our money counter goes up. So right here is the hide variable, and it's also the show variable, which is actually the one we'll be using. So the hide variable kind of just makes it so something like disappears, and the other one makes it so something reappears. So right here we're putting a go to random position. So when we start the game, the money just appears randomly somewhere on the screen. And yeah. Next, we're making a forever loop. That's so that what we make repeats itself. And you can also add comments. So I could add a comment here and say, this is the player controls. So when you right-click something, you can add a comment, duplicate it, and there's a lot of different things you can do. So we're going to put wait until touching player, and then drag that there. So when we touch the money, it will go to a random position and show. So let's press the start flag again. So now that script's working. So now you can see our player. Every time we touch the money, it teleports. Next, we also need to make it so the money actually goes up. And now, if you look, when we collect it, our money goes up. So each time we collect it, and if we restart the game, it starts back at 0. So it resets our progress. There aren't many ways to make saving progress in Scratch, but it is possible, but it's a lot more complicated. So I'm not going to cover it in this tutorial, but if I do figure it out, I can make a tutorial on that sometime. But there are other plenty tutorials on YouTube of how to make progress saving on Scratch. But for now, I'm just covering the basics. Yeah, each time I collect, as you can see, the money goes up. And yeah. So for the next part of the tutorial, we're going to make a sound play each time you collect the money. So we go to sounds, and then we select a sound. So we're going to go to choose a sound, and we're going to pick coins. It's kind of like a coin. It's like a good sound. Here I slowed it down a bit. Can make it louder and quieter. And I drag it in right under to that script. So now it will play that whole script. The sound will start, and then it'll go to a random position and add the money each time we collect it. So as you can see, each time we collect the coin, it makes that sound, and our counter goes up, and everything works fine. However, the game is a bit easy, so we're going to go to choose sprite, and we're going to add an enemy. The last 2 times you used paint, but this time I'm going to choose a sprite, so we'll choose the letter E, the most commonly used letter in English, and we're going to make it the evilest letter in English, so it will be the bad guy of our game. So we're going to rename the sprite to enemy. That way we know it's like the evil sprite, the enemy that the player has to like avoid and stuff. So we're going to put when start clicked, hide actually, not show. That way it starts out, it doesn't appear yet. And we'll have it appear after a certain amount of seconds so the player can like get used to how the game works first, so it won't spawn immediately. Now in this part we're going to sounds, and I'm looking up alert. And this sound we'll use to play when the E spawns in. And as you can see, we lowered the volume a bit because it is a bit loud, and we don't want to hurt the player's ears because that alarm sounds really loud. So now after that many seconds, we'll put play start alarm. And as you can see in that part, I put a stop block to show what it does. Pretty much it stops like a sound while it's playing. Now there's 2 different blocks here. One is play sound until done, and one is start sound. The difference is start sound, it will play the sound and continue the script, which is what we'll be using. And then play sound until done, it will play the sound, and then when it's done, it will play the rest of the script. So when it will play, it go to a random position show, and it will move steps. So what that does is it makes it so it moves in whatever position it's facing, pretty much. So instead of like X or Y, it just goes whatever direction it's facing. So now we'll put not if on edge bounce, I messed up there a bit, but point towards player. So now as you can see, if we go in full screen, the E, or the enemy in our game is now chasing our player. However, as you can see, it's like pointing towards the player, and let's say instead of using the letter E, you want a monster in your game. It's going to look a bit weird, the monster like turning upside down and like all sorts of different angles while it's chasing you. So we're gonna I'll show you how to make it so it doesn't do that. you'll see there will be a setting that says set rotation style. But first we want it to point 90 degrees when it first spawns. Then we get out set rotation style, don't rotate. So 90 degrees will make it so it faces the default way, and set rotation style don't rotate will make it so it doesn't rotate. So now we'll just play like normally and wait. And now E will spawn in and start chasing us, but it's no longer rotating. It's just facing the same way. So now it chases the player fine and everything, but it doesn't remove its money yet. So we want to make it so when it touches the player loses money. So we need to get wait until and put it on a forever script. So it's always checking if it's touching the player. And we're going to need a start flag to make it so when the game starts, it's checking the forever loop. So we'll put when start clicked forever, and it will check when it's touching the player. Then we'll put change money by -3. I could put -5 or something, but for I'm gonna keep it more simple, not like brutal or anything. You'll only lose 3 coins each time, or not 3 coins, 3 money each time. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it so the player gets like a quick break after each time it gets hit by E. So if you lose money, it won't just immediately appear again. The player will get like a quick break. So we're going to make it so it teleports away when it gets hit by putting a go to random position. But first, we want the break, so we're going to put hide for 5 seconds. So once E hits the player, they'll lose money, and then it will disappear for 5 seconds. And then we'll make it reappear and go to a random position after those 5 seconds are up. So the player will get a 5-second break each time it gets attacked. Alright, so now we're gonna test it out and see if it works. So the game started, we're getting money, and the money counter is going up. Now E appears. And if he hits me, now 2 minus 3 is -1, so now I have -1 money, but I can get money back. And as you can see, each time I get hit, he disappears for 5 seconds, so I get a little break to get him some more money and catch up before he appears again. So let's say you want 0 to be the lowest you can go. Like you don't want the player to have less money than 0. You don't want it to go to the negatives. So you want when start clicked forever, if money, you want to get the equal block out. If money equals, or not if money is less than 1, then set money to 0. So what this does is forever, if the money ever goes less than 1, it will automatically set to 0. So that way, if it goes to a negative number, it will automatically go back to 0. So 2 minus 3 is -1, but as you can see, when you got hit by E, we went from 2 to 0 instead of -1. So now there's like a cap, not like a max money we can have, but now the minimum money we can have is 0. So no matter what, we'll have at least 0. We can't go into the negatives anymore. So that concludes this tutorial. Thanks for watching. So a quick summary of everything we went over. First, we learned how to make the player move. Then we made the movement more smooth. And then we learned how to make a system that lets us collect money, and the game counts how much money we have. And then we made an enemy that when it touches the player, it removes some of our money. Then finally, we made it so when we lose all our money, we're left at 0, and it doesn't go beyond that. So if we get hit again after 0, it will no longer go into the negatives, since we set a minimum amount of money so it can't go below 0. So if you found this tutorial helpful, please consider subscribing and commenting what types of tutorials you would like to see in the future. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.